gentlemen, this is Out of Bounds on a Sunday, brought to you by the Front and Centre Podcast, your home of beer betting, ball sports, and bants since 2023. I'm Brownie. I'm here with Novak. This is your recap of the round that was. We're going to try and keep it as close to 30 minutes as possible. Novak, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Much better than last week.
Yeah, good. That's what we want to hear. You're up and about a bit more. You had a quiet one last night, which was good.
Have not had one beer, bar the podcast beer, since probably about 1 a.m. Sunday morning the other week. Good by me.
Good. That's better. That's what we want to hear. Good. So I'm gonna have a little timer here. We're still nutting out the nuts and bolts of being online and being live and sound effects and intros and all that sort of stuff. But we're going to get straight into it. We're going to go 3 minutes per, I guess, agenda item that we can see there. And we're going to fire through. And at the end, we're going to bring in our rounds, winners and losers. So let's get straight into it. And we got to start on Thursday night. I mean, we discussed it on the podcast, but Thursday night, discuss outrageous. Is this more a good sign for the Tigers or a bad sign for the Blues?
I think it's a bit of column A and a bit of column B. Like, obviously, being 40.
I've lost you. Novak's internet's spinning wheel again. He's frozen, but I'm assuming he's going with being 40 points up and then coming back and letting a team come back and take control of the game the way they did was a bit outrageous. And I think the Blues just panicked. They just panicked. Richmond started coming at them, and the Blues were panicking. They actually, instead of playing their game, it seemed like they were trying to stop Richmond from doing what they're doing. So painful to watch as a Blues fan. I don't really know any positives that you can take of that game. Novak is, are you there? Is he there? No, he's not there. So might just be solo for a while. But I don't know many positives you can really take from that game. Paddy Cripps playing in the ruck as a second ruckman. Do you want that? Do you want your Ferrari to be in the ruck, or do you get Pitnet in just to chop out for DeConning? DeConning actually really good for the Blues, but the young superstar that is Lawler, so we've been saying that wrong. We're saying Laylor, but Lawler, who really put himself out there, one might say. He played really well. The Tigers were just hungry, and I guess that's what happens when you're on the bottom of the pecking order and the bottom of the food chain. Is you want to run and you want to hunt as hard as you can. So pressure creates diamonds, I guess, and we saw some diamond footy from the Tigers, and Tom Lynch got a lot more room to work with, which was really good to see. And finally they maybe they are a little bit more ahead than a lot of people think. And the Adamuze not having much aura about him. I don't know whether you need aura if you can actually coach. So I just huge for Richmond. Maybe it's their only win of the season, but what a way to start the season. And it just creates a lot more questions for next week. And definitely makes Friday night's game next week between the Blues and the Hawks really interesting. Will the Blues be 2-0? I mean, a massive opportunity to upset the Hawks, but it's also a massive game. There you go. There's my timer. You can hear that. So let's just stop that. So I'll move on. Hopefully Novak gets back to us very shortly, but we will move on to the Friday night game, and here he is. He should be back. Maybe he's back now. Are you back now with this?
I am back. So we've come to the conclusion out where we do the normal podcast. No good. I got disconnected twice, so the office is the way to go. I don't look as good.
All right, good. Will you come here?
But Office
that's way to go. So you've come in at a good time. I just rushed through Thursday night. We did talk about that on the normal podcast. For anybody else that's listening on a Thursday night, the Front and Center podcast, get involved. Friday night. Let's talk Friday night. As a Hawks man, what did you take from that game? It looks like they were kind of in control the whole game, your boys.
Well, I don't think we were, because I think we got smashed in the contest and smashed on inside 50s. As soon as I said the words, I might not have to call Lloyd Meek Peel Thunder Lloyd Meek anymore. He didn't have his best game, and obviously their midfield played quite well. Jai Caldwell had an absolute ripper, but we made the most of our opportunities, and they definitely did not. They were taking the game on through the corridor, but their skills weren't great, and they were turning the ball over, and we managed to play our game the way we wanted. And as I sort of precursored last week, the G is going to suit us. And when we had the buy, trade, hold, I literally said it will suit our game. It'll suit our small forwards. It'll suit our run up the ground and run back. Wizard had a good game. Dylan Moore had a good game. Connor McDonald had a good game. And Ginnivan had a good game. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And that was the difference.
So you said a bit there you got smashed in places, but you played your own game, and that's why I've kind of gone with the title here of Magical Mitchell, even though I spelled Mitchell with a capital I there. Interesting.
Capital Mitchell.
yeah. So he did come out and say sometimes they can't play that run and gun footy all the time, and sometimes they do need to settle and control the footy a bit more, and it looks like they did. And to me, the thing that really stood out there was they're that good that they can have those type of game plans and they can just switch in and out of them. So I see that as a massive, massive win for you boys to be able to just change the way you play, to be able to control the game. It was huge.
Yeah. I think it also helped that Essendon were down multiple players as well. So they got a lot of injuries to key players like Ridley and Langford. Langford's a massive one for them because he's been their guy in the forward line consistently to get it done. And he's a big out, 4 to 6 week string.
Yeah, that does not help them at all. But I don't know. You guys, I wasn't massive on you boys at the start of the year, and we're 2 games in you guys are 2 games in, but geez, you just look like you're getting stronger and stronger. So and you weren't that big on them either. You thought you overachieved. So you look at when are you going to change your mind?
When we play Geelong on that public holiday that we play them every year on that Monday at the G, if we can knock them off, I'll be starting to think that we are the real deal. But from what I saw this week from Geelong, I think we're a little bit off them.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, and I agree, but only time will tell, and now I look forward to that. So let's move to the succession plan. I don't really have
gone
it
in game order. Give me a sec. You
No,
haven't gone in game order. So my notes are a bit all over the shop.
And I've just realised I've actually left one out, which is the game that we're skipping here, which was the Sydney
Dogs.
game, and I got the Cats game next. But anyway, Port game. We talk the Port game quickly. Succession plan is this. I saw some vision where it looked like Josh Carr was talking and Ken actually looked quite disinterested, and it may just be like a 10-second clip and they might have just caught him. But is this a red flag straight away already?
It definitely is, but we probably need to sort out our watching. If there's 2 games on at once, someone watches one game and someone watches another game, because I actually watched the Dogs and North game. So I actually did not see any of this game because I was watching the other game. So 2 games in Melbourne at the same time within a couple of Ks of one another. Not the best fixturing, but so I actually haven't. I was watching the score and I thought I'll jump over, but I'm like, no, there's no need. So from what I saw, basically what I sort of precursored on Thursday on the podcast was that was more of an aberration for the Pies. I think they're going to be back, and they obviously were.
Yep.
A few players came in. Obviously, Dan Houston looks to have made a difference, but when last week, I think you tipped Port from memory in the pod on Thursday, and all the reasons that you said why Port would win and why the Pies were crap, that literally flipped the switch, because looking at the stats, the key
100%.
forwards went and McStay went off. Older blokes played really well, even though Pendles was the sub. Nick Dacos started slow, but he built into the game and got some possessions. Lipinski was nowhere last week. He's had a fantastic game. So it's like anyone who had an off night last week, I think Lockie Schultz got a few more touches as well, played better. So, and that's why I wasn't ready to jump off the Pies. When I say jump off, like totally can them, like you were saying on Thursday, because they still have enough players. That's why I've got them under the pump, because they have to hold that for the rest of the year. And it won't take much as the year progresses with it if they get a few injuries to a few key players, because they've still got plenty of outs. But I think that says more about Port than what it does about the Pies. And the Port have obviously got a lot of men down, especially in the back line. And when you're relying on Travis Boak to and obviously Rosie had a good game, but Travis Boak really had a good game for them. And it's sort of like Fremantle would be relying on 1N5 to do the heavy lifting. And that's not a good sign for Port. Their forward line doesn't look like it functioned that well, looking at the stats. And you look at some of their backline players, it looks grim. Like, it looks really grim. So I think you're right. We don't believe in succession plans. I don't believe in succession plans.
I said Tim Membry was better than Dan McStay. Dan McStay came out, I think he booted 5, and then Tim Membry booted 3 as well. So, you're right. Their forward line did start working pretty well. Nick Dacos obviously did Nick Dacos things. Again, I'm not going to say that they're back, but we both had Port sliding. I didn't think they would dish that up, to be honest with you, round 1. I didn't think they'll get smashed that badly, but it was an interesting game to kind of have a look at. But it
was. But I mean, the pressure is on them now, so they've got a run of games in their home state coming up. They need to get some results on the board, or the succession plan could be over, and bottom 10 could be heading somewhere where we're heading right now if things continue that way.
Yeah. So talk to me about the early morning game that's on Saturday. You've written double scoop of vanilla as the headline for this game. A, explain that, and B, again, I guess it is round 1 and we don't want to jump to conclusions, but was that game just like the Carlton Richmond game? Has it just said more about how good the Cats are, or has it shown some weaknesses for Freo, even though they did have some outs?
Before I got cut off there, before I said a bit of a column A, a bit of column B, it's the same thing here. So we refer back to the Indigenous All-Stars game where Justin Longmuir said, we were just playing some vanilla footy because we didn't want to give too much away. Seems as though they left all the vanilla footy in the Indigenous All-Stars game, and they gave a big double scoop of vanilla crap for this game. So they played half a good game. They got blown off in the first quarter. They were good in the second, and then they decided, hang on a minute, we've got this guy called Caleb Sarong who's pretty good at football, and he's pretty good in the midfield. Why don't we play him in the midfield instead of playing him more forward line? And he went into the midfield in the third quarter, and they actually got back into the game. Obviously, there's one person we'll probably talk about a bit later. Murphy Reid decided to just go channel his inner Scott Brown and decide to kick a bag in 5 minutes. But
four goals in 10 minutes is hard to do. Only some of us.
He actually did it in 6.5. So I think he's got
that's a bit better than
that. Then it came to the last quarter, and they just got absolutely blown off the park. This is the biggest loss in Justin Longmuir's tenure at the Fremantle Football Club, and I found this from his press conference interesting. We'll have to do a deep dive of it. I feel like their pressure was at a level where we weren't used to and we weren't up to. We spoke about it yesterday and pre-game. Round 1 goes up a level. We weren't ready for that. We were on the back foot all day because of it. We've got some work to do. What does that tell you? You've known you're playing Geelong in Geelong for 6 months, and you're already admitting you weren't prepared. You're already admitting you couldn't handle it, and you're already admitting you're on the back foot. If that doesn't scream bad coaching and bad management, what does? I know it must be hard for him to come out and talk about it so fresh and raw in his mind. But if I'm a Fremantle supporter, they would want to turn up next Sunday, all guns blazing, or I don't think their season will go anywhere. And the high hopes that a lot of people, including us, had could be in pain. So let's hope for Fremantle supporters that's an aberration. We know Geelong is the hardest trip in football. We know they're the best team in the football.
It doesn't get easier for them. They got Sydney here.
Yeah, but Sydney, man, are we going to get to them? They're not on the agenda. So
yeah, I know. We'll literally get to them next. But so Freo, as I said, I've been playing around. The graphic looks good, but I just got to fix a bit of things like the actual rundown of what we're doing. That's probably more important. But yes,
alarming point for Fremantle was the return from their forward line. So you take out Murphy Reid. You got 2 goals from Frederick, 1 from Brayshaw, 1 from Banfield, 1 from Tracy, 1 from Cox. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is very, very, very grim. So from their big dogs, they got 1 goal. From their midfield, they got 1 goal. And Frederick and Reid, 2 small forwards, kicked 6 out of 10.
Yep.
Switkowski got hurt. Good. No, it is not good. So do they have much to come back in? 100% they do. And Liam Reedy, I don't think is the answer because Sam de Koning took him to the cleaners. When Luke Jackson actually went into the midfield, he actually looked really, really good. So I'm thinking come Sydney, coming Brodie Grundy, if I'm Justin Longmuir, I'm making that change. Patrick Voss can come in and be the third tall, and Luke Jackson can go into the ruck because he was good. I thought Jackson was really, really good when he was around the ball. I thought he was good in the forward line. He did drop a few marks, but everyone did that. So if I'm Fremantle, that's the change I want to see. It makes them more dynamic, and I think you're going to get more out of Luke Jackson as a ruckman than Luke Jackson as a forward, and I think Patrick Voss as a forward will deliver you more than what Liam Reddy will in the ruck.
100%.
But Geelong looked awesome.
They did look very good. It's very good for our better bet, which is
and when I get
awesome.
to winners and losers, there's there's someone I want to bring up for Geelong that was an enormous winner, massive.
Good. So now let's quickly touch on that grand final replay game. The Swans went down to the Lions again. I thought the Swans with the extra days in the legs would help out.
It was not a good week for Scott Brown tipping, was it?
No, controversial bump, I believe, in this game. Possible 3 weeks for McInerney from Sydney on Starcevic. If he gets 3 weeks for that, I'm going to be upset.
3 weeks or nothing. That's the concussion thing, right? You either get none or you get 3 weeks. So Scrimshaw got 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Jackson Archie got 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And there's a confirmed concussion, 3 weeks, and then you can dispute it at the tribunal. And we all know what happens at the tribunal. It's an absolute disaster. But I think the key for this game here was that when the game was there to be won, Brisbane's key players really lifted because Charlie Cameron was laid out, so their small forward line. My guy Kai got hurt as well.
Was he a hammy or a
ankle? He got tackled. He's rolled his ankle. So no McCarthy, no my guy Kai, no Cameron, and Lachie Neale was irrelevant. He did absolutely nothing.
He did nothing.
He was completely held out of the game. But Brisbane are that good that their players stood up. Zach Bailey went off. Zach Bailey went off, man.
Lachie Neale, did he have a tag or did he just...
James Jordan. James Jordan he's very good. He's very good tagger. And
he's their go-to.
He took him out of the game. But when the game was there to be won, Zach Bailey turned it on. He kicked 4 goals, 17 touches. But the key for me was Dane Zorko was not really in the game in the first half. He came in second half, really turned up the possessions, kicked 2 goals, and was there when the game was to be won. You know, they're big grunt players in the midfield. Without Lachie Neale, played really well. Josh Dunkley, Joe Berry. And I think the key was I was quite happy with my Rising Star contribution to the tournament. And then Levi Ashcroft was named to the sub, got a gig because Charlie Cameron was out, and he would have been one of the top 5 players on the ground. So he's going to be very hard to beat for the Rising Star. It was fantastic because his brother Will wasn't really there either. So, yeah, really interesting. I think for the Swans, what I found interesting was Chad Warner played a lot in the forward line. Like
he was, so he was nowhere to be seen as well. Like Corey seemed to play more midfield than Chad did.
Yeah, but like Chad was just deep forward a lot. He got 20 touches, kicked 2 goals, which you think, mate, if you play in midfield, that's
pretty good.
Well, I think that's an average game, but as a forward, that's an awesome game. 20 touches, 2 goals as a forward, that's amazing.
That's what I meant. As a forward, 20 touches, 2 goals. Yeah.
I don't know why he wasn't playing as much in the midfield, and the thing that got me was that the skills in this game, like Matt Roberts running out of defence, just kicked the ball straight to Brisbane. And that put him 2 goals ahead. And that was pretty much the gap in the game that got the job done. But
are you sticking with the Tom McCartan experiment? Is it time to change it up?
Better.
Joel Hamling only 11 touches down back. So
he looked much better. Yeah. Obviously, Melican got hurt. So I don't know what that means. But Amadi Party was irrelevant.
Papley was
less than irrelevant. So McCartan was actually really good. He presented, took marks, kicked a goal. I thought he was really good.
Does Logan, if Logan comes back, do you say see you later, Amadi, hello Logan, or are you still just holding and waiting? Logan not playing. Yeah, right.
Nah. If Melican is out, which he's hurt, that might force McCartan back again.
Yeah.
But look, Cox is doing things different, so we'll wait and see. It's hard to tell. He's had 2 games, so I'm really interested to see them live in the flesh next Sunday.
Yeah, that will be good. Next, we're going on to the Dogs game. Dogs North Melbourne, as you said, Jackson Archer suspended for 3 games with a head clash to I can't remember the Dogs player.
It was Cleary, and Cleary was bending over to pick up the ball, and Archer just came running in and ran over the top of him, and basically
Dave said that he could have stopped and corralled. That's kind of how they came with the.
He could have jumped over him. I would have thought if someone's going to come and try and take your legs out, don't you normally just go shit? I might break my leg here and just jump over.
That's true. That's
what I would do.
Look after yourself as well. But the Dogs got the job done. Kind of just a lot of injuries.
No. Very much just. They were terrible.
Yeah. Hey, a lot of injuries, but they got the job done.
They've got a lot of injuries. Put it this way, right?
Yeah.
Their back line held up really, really strong in this game because the ball was coming down there a fair bit. They got a lot of attack from their back line. So Bailey Dale was fantastic. He got a lot of run and carry, kicked some bombs. You would have thought they'd be aware of that. Freya, he was really good. He played defense. He went into the midfield as well.
28 touches.
And Ed Richards was really strong as well. But for the Dogs, Tom Powell was amazing. So was Simpkin. So there, and I mean, Davies Uniacke was good as well. Sheezer was good as well. Like they racked up the possessions. They just couldn't kick the score. Like Larky had a really good game.
Yeah, 5 goals won. That's pretty handy.
Yeah, had a really good game.
Medal chase.
Yeah. Jack Darling presented quite well, but when push came to shove, the Dogs were just a little bit better. Tristan Cherry was very good for the Roos, but from what I saw here, these teams are just making up the numbers this year. And I know you're keen on the Dogs, and I know they've got a lot to come back in, but I would need to see a lot more. Like after that game, right, if I was a Dogs supporter, I reckon I would almost be happier being a North supporter than a Dogs supporter after that game, because what I saw from North was that they were having a crack. They're improving. Their structures were working better, so I think they're making steps in the right direction, where if I'm the Dogs, I'm like, yeah, we got a lot of outs. Yeah, we tried really hard. Yeah, we got the job done, but it really took to the end to get that done. So
do you think Luke Parker and Caleb Daniel have slotted in quite well, or would you think they might be clogging up some space for some other youngsters to?
No, they're not clogging up space, I can tell you that much. But Parker, I'm not quite sure where he fits in, because I think he sort of came down expecting more midfield time, but Simpkin was playing full time. And Simpson, Power, Sheasel, and Davies Uniacke, they all get a midfield spot ahead of him. So Parker would be next best. Then you've got like McKercher. Will Phillips was in there before he got subbed. He was actually going okay. I was surprised he got subbed. For them, though, who would have thought Griffin Logue injured again? So they're key backs. And as I told you, you didn't really believe me, but Charlie Comben did a fantastic job on Sam Darcy, kept him to one goal.
One goal.
He was a perfect matchup for Sam Darcy because he's tall and lanky. He can run. And Sam Darcy
Aaron Norton still got the job done. 17 touches, 3 goals. That's pretty handy.
Did, but obviously with Griffin Logue getting hurt, that did not help that matchup because they kept Comben on Sam Darcy. But look, the Dogs showed enough to get it done. Let's hope they can get some players back. Like their midfield still has some capacity with Kennedy, Richards, Liberatore. So there's enough there. If they can hold on and bank some wins and get some players back, that's the hope for the season. Otherwise, they'll be leaving their run real late.
Yeah, Bontempelli, Treloar, and Liam Jones will be very handy when they come back. But now we've got to move on to this one. If we can skip this, this will be great. I've got here bacon, eggs, and a bloodbath. So I was eating my bacon and eggs this morning, up at early 8:30, ready to go.
Look, I'm not a fan of breakfast footy. 9:30
no, neither am I.
Too early on a Sunday for football. It's too early.
But the Crows just showed that, hey, maybe they are, again, it's against the Saints. And we did talk about this on Thursday. And I did say, as a Saints fan, I wasn't expecting much. I wasn't expecting us to win. Do you know what? 60 points. What was it? 63 points. So to be honest, I'll take that. 10 goals. But listen, the Crows, I feel like when they're healthy, Isaac Rankin playing a bit more midfield time, they're going to be pretty good this year. I'm not calling grand final good, but they're going to be pretty good this year.
Right now, as we speak, they have the fittest list in the AFL.
Yeah.
Adelaide do. So obviously, Jordan Dawson was dominating in the first quarter. They had a real strong breeze. And obviously, Windhager went to him and that made a difference. But they were just better. I think the problem for Ross the Boss was that he brought in players that weren't 100% fit. And he had to try and make do. Like Rowan Marshall is not a full forward. He played majority of the game full forward and Boyd in the ruck. And then he did hurt his knee, which was different to his hip. So he came off the last 5 minutes of the game with a massive ice pack on his knee. Jack Sinclair was definitely not 100% fit either.
Nope.
He did not spend much time in the midfield either. He probably should have because there was more running in the back line than there would have been in the midfield. But I think shining lights, you've got to take some positives. And Jack McRae was really good in his first game.
He did
Jack Steele was nowhere. I don't know what happened to Jack, but Jack McRae was fantastic. Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller, you might have been paying $17 million for Finn Callaghan, but take a couple of million off and give it to this kid. He looks really, really good.
So Wanganeen-Miller, just on that one, he's a great runner. Some of his using of the football, and it's not just him, there's a lot of Saints players that really frustrated me, is they try and do these like fancy little kicks instead of it could just be a simple handball. They're trying to kick it like 5 meters or around the corner or something like that when they could just kick it long. But I guess
I think the key is
injuries can't kick
got
it long.
No one to kick to.
Yeah.
And Caminiti ended up swapping with Zane Cordy. So you had Zane Cordy and Rowan Marshall as your 2 key forwards. If I'm Wanganeen-Miller, I'm kicking it sideways as well. But Max Hall played really good on his debut.
Yes.
I thought he was fantastic. But
Hugo Garcia did pretty well.
I don't think he did. I think he was playing out of position. He was sitting forward. He barely played. He played half a game.
Yeah, but still, if he barely played and he still got 18 touches, a goal, 3 tackles, 6 contested. It wasn't the worst.
It wasn't good, trust me, because I've got him in my fantasy team and I was invested. And he doesn't have a good role. He's in the forward pocket, and if you're playing forward pocket and you're getting 55% game time, that's not good. But we should be talking more about the Crows because Rory Laird has gone back into the back line and he really shores up that area. He was fantastic. As you said, Isaac Rankin back into the midfield. Their midfield is now elite when you've got Dawson, Saligo, Rankin, Matt Crouch. I think Josh Rochelle probably had the best game I've seen him play, which was really good. And their three-headed monster became a two-headed monster, but Tilthorpe looks really, really, really good. And obviously Deepog's there as well. And Tex is the third banana, and he did enough, but he got subbed. So I'm not sure if they're going to persist with him or not, but all their new recruits contributed. Peatling was good. Cumming was good. Neil Bullen was good. Sid Draper came on after being the sub. He looks fantastic. The worry for them, the only worries I've got for them is Dan Curtin just doesn't have a role. If there's the three-headed monster, Dan Curtin doesn't have a role.
Does not need to be there. Yeah.
Well, either give him a role or don't play him, because he was sort of all out of sorts because he was nowhere near the ball because of their forward structure has a three big guys. Where is he? Just sitting out wide. So I don't know what they're going to do with him. But look, I think Sid Draper was a positive. But yeah, they're solid. Adelaide solid. We knew they'd come good. So
they look good. And now we move on to the game that the Giants just got the job done. I've got Giants flex, but they didn't really. It's all I could think of. 5 debutants for Melbourne. Again, just going down to the Giants. I'm pretty sure Melbourne led for
Melbourne were in front the whole day.
Yeah, so I mean, with 5 debutants, and they look good. My boy Xavier Lindsay looked really good as well.
Very good.
Yeah, all the debutants look great. So I think Melbourne are in a pretty good spot, to be honest with you. Giants just getting the job done there.
Did you watch this one?
I watched bits and pieces. I was in and out all day. But who from Melbourne are you keen on? Did the midfield? I want to know, how did the midfield go all together? They're back. The band's back together. Round one. What were they looking like?
I watched this whole game before I went out for a bit, and they're definitely back. Their problem is their forward line, because they had, as you said, the band was back together. Oliver, Petrarca, Gawn, Viney. And as we talked about on Thursday, I was correct in my saying that Petrarca was definitely going to get the tag, and he definitely did. When Petrarca went forward, Bedford then went to Oliver, but Petrarca was handling that tag very, very well. It was just a marquee matchup. It was a grade versus an A grade. And to start sort of the game, you had Tom Green, you had Kelly, and you had Callahan versus Oliver, Viney, Petrarca. It was the who's who into the AFL. It was really, really good. So the main thing for me in this game was obviously Max Gawn had a fantastic impact on the game. But when the chips were down and when you're a battler and you have a time to shine, there is someone who's going to be in my winners section, which we'll talk about when we get there. But when you get the opportunity to impact the game, when you're not the most important player on the ground, you're not the biggest name, but you've got to take your opportunity. And that's what happened. And I have to give credit to Adam Kingsley. The game was on the line and the Giants were behind, and he made a move and he put Toby Green into the midfield. It absolutely heaved down at the end of the third quarter, and Toby Green went into the midfield and he changed that game. He won them that game of football in the last quarter. I think he had like something silly, like 11 or 14 touches. He kicked 3 goals, 23 touches. And he was the one that turned the game in the Giants' favour. And when they were pushing down the stretch, he lifted them and got them over the line.
Fourth quarter, 11 disposals, 8 kicks, 1 goal, 1. Just in the fourth quarter.
It was fantastic. But if I'm the Melbourne side, I really like what I saw. I'm shattered that I lost that game. As if I was a Melbourne supporter, they were probably the better team. But when push came to shove, they just structured up better, and their depth wasn't quite there in their forward line. They had Van Rooyen, they had Frisch, and they had Johnson, and they had just missing.
What about this Jefferson? I saw a few shots.
He was supposed to be with the Eagles, but Melbourne sort of picked him up. Look, he's a 25-year-old VFL player. He is not a key forward. So that is their Achilles heel at the moment. They don't have a big dog. Van Rooyen is not the guy. He's a number 2 guy. So he's a number 2 guy trying to be a number 1. And it's really tough for them. And when you've got Sam Taylor and Himmelberg down there, it was really tough for them.
Yeah.
But fantastic for the Giants.
Yeah, good win for the Giants, and as I said, you got to say well done to the D's as well with the 5 debutants. And now we go on to the last game, and all I've got here is: are the Eagles going to win the wooden spoon? We've talked about North, we've talked about Richmond, and what they did at Carlton and West Coast just seem way below both of those.
No, they're not. That was the first game of the McQualter era, and they're not going to win the spoon. Richmond is still going to win the spoon. You got to remember they're a year ahead of where West Coast are right now.
Yes.
And they had a team. They came up against an A-grade AFL midfield. Jared Witts dominated. He was almost best on, but you had Anderson.
How many hit outs did he get? Do you know? I'll quickly look at it if you don't know off the top of your
68.
Yeah,
but
right.
We had Witts, Anderson, Rao, and Miller against Harley Reid, who, as I said, is not a full-time AFL mid. Tim Kelly, who's lost the passion for football.
Not interested.
No, I'm telling you. Do you want to know how much passion he has for football?
He got 12 touches or something, didn't he?
Where
as a midfielder?
14 touches, 1 point. Yeah. There was a stat at halftime where Kelly, Reid, and I'm going to go with Graham had 21 touches in a half between them. Rao and Anderson had 19 each.
Each. Yeah.
Harley Reid was nowhere. He did a couple of good things, but he wasn't in the game. And they couldn't move him into the forward line because the ball couldn't get down there. And they don't seem to want to play him in the back line in the sweeper role. So he was just in the midfield, and the midfield was getting absolutely obliterated. I will give the Eagles credit, when the ball did get into the forward line, they actually looked all right. Like Waterman's got hurt again, so that's not good. That could be multiple weeks with the calf. But Oscar Allen and Waterman, when they're leading to the ball, it looks really good.
The recruits look good.
Yeah, so there is some positive signs, but the key is that, as I mentioned, I said, if Giants are going to be competitive this year, Ben King can win the Coleman, and he got off to a fantastic start. Career high. So I finally got one. Right, I haven't cooked one, but he kicked 6. Ben Long kicked 4, and their forward line was just on absolute fire. That Rogers, Reid, and they've still got guys to come back in. No Mac Andrew, no Jeb Walter. So there's plenty. If you're a Suns supporter, Richie Newen, he'll be at the Grand Prix off his absolute trolley. He'll be pumped at this because they were fantastic. That was Gold Coast Suns' biggest win ever. Ever.
Well done. And they needed to start off well. And that 6-0 really looks good. I think. Are they playing the Bombers this week? Oh no, they were supposed to play the Bombers round 0, weren't they? So that's the end of the year. Round 2.
They have a bye this week. Giants and Suns have a bye.
Okay, sweet. And then the game after that, they got Melbourne. That actually sets up for a really good game at the MCG. So that'll be interesting to watch. See how we go with Melbourne. So we're going to finish off here with winners and losers. So I think you might have 2. I've only got 1 winner and 1 loser of the week, and they're kind of broad. But my winners are every single AFL debutant. None of them really kind of you know how sometimes there's some letdowns and all that sort of thing. But like Lawler played a great game. Lawler played a great game.
Great.
Finn O'Sullivan was okay. He didn't go amazing. He was okay. But obviously my boy Xavier Lindsay, Harvey Langford got
subs. Harvey Langford and Sid Draper were subs, but I get what you're saying.
Levi Ashcroft. But the majority of them, they did really well. And the losers I've got is the AFL Tribunal, because I don't like, I'm nervous about the McInerney one.
So you mean the match review panel or the tribunal? Because the tribunal hasn't even happened yet. Because
the match review panel or the match review officer or whatever it is.
Yeah, they only grade on the matrix that they have. So you can't
really
matrix
blame then. The matrix is the loser.
Because they can only assess to what their parameters are. So it'll be interesting to see who goes to the tribunal. If you scrimshaw, I think you kind of cop it. You got a concussion anyway. Archer as well. Who knows? It's a tough one.
The McInerney one really irks me. He was going for the footy. There was an accidental head clash. I get the protect the head clash.
You know what?
The Jackson Archer one is worse than the McInerney one, but the McInerney one, it will really irk me if he gets 3 weeks.
They might. they might appeal.
Yeah. So your winners and losers, please.
Winners. When you play your first game for a new club, you're coming off an ACL, you haven't played for 18 months. Bailey Smith was fantastic.
Yep.
And if you're a Geelong supporter, you are absolutely stoked. And if you're a Bulldogs supporter, after if he could have done that for the Bulldogs, they would have won by 10 goals probably. Amazing to see what he could do in a elite team. Like, wowee, like he was fantastic. And Lockie Keefe is a massive, massive winner for mine. Kicked the winning goal to save the game, getting your ass handed to you by Max Gawn all game. He is not a true ruckman, and he busted his ass the whole game. When the game was there to be won, he went, stuff it. I'm going to take the pump, and just Max went in. I'm going to run to goals, and he broke away from Max, and they kicked him the ball, and he got the job done. So good on him.
Yeah, good job.
And obviously Murphy Reid, 4 goals on debut in a 5-minute minute. That's the winner. My losers are, well, Port Adelaide. We mentioned it. Like, there was not really one positive you could take out of that game. And it's only round 1, but there has to be somewhere to go from there. As I said, Justin Longmuir's press conference was a train wreck. What I read out to you just really makes me doubt whether Fremantle can come good, because there might need to be if that's his mindset and he can't prepare them properly. You've been a coach for a while now. You should be able to get that job done. Yep. And the other losers are coffee makers at 9 o'clock in the morning, because this would have been their busiest trade ever on a Sunday. People going to get their coffee before the game, and it's not going to happen again because daylight savings gone next week.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. But 10:20 is like a mid-morning coffee.
Yeah, that's a brunch. But if you got to go there at 8 o'clock to get your coffee, that would have been pumping. Where all these people are, they're getting their pre-footy coffee.
That is a fair call. All right, well, that's us done. As we have mentioned a few times in this podcast, Thursday's out. I was going to say Thursday out of bounds. Thursday, the Front and Center podcast is when we record. Dropped late Thursday night every Friday morning for your drive to work. This week's going to be a tough one because something happened over the weekend, and we're both a bit down about what happened, but. That will be discussed. You're shaking your head, but that'll be fun to talk about.
Frustrating. Like, as I said, we had it in our. It was right here. It was right here. I was like that Crows supporter. It was robbed right in front of me. Right in front of me.
We were robbed. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening on Spotify, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully this is out Monday morning.
We might have gone a bit longer tonight, and we might have to streamline coming up. But I think we've got a few short weeks coming up. So
So that's good. Tune in on Thursday. Friday footy frothies as well. I figured out something for that. So tune in on Thursday to find or wherever you get podcasts to find out that. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out.